Starting recording this class from this point. Hello everyone, this is the third live session for HMGT400. In this meeting, I'm gonna go through team project and explain my expectation and what to do for that assignment. And still, you have about 2 weeks, correct, to complete that assignment. First thing first, the topic has been selected. I approve all of them. Most of the team are communicating very well, except team 3. But fortunately, Heather and Liz are here. I sent an email to the other members of the team, so hopefully they back to us as soon as possible. For team 1 and team 2, anyone here from team 1 or team 2?
I am. I'm from team 1.
Oh, Erin. Hi, Erin.
From team 1 too.
Are you a team leader, Erin?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And who is from team 2 here?
I'm here from team 2.
Oh, Maria. Maria, you are team leader, correct?
Yeah.
Great. Erin, could you please, do you have any update about the team? Let's start with the team 1.
I'm sorry?
Erin, I'm talking to Erin. Erin, do you have any, could you give us a little bit update on the team if you know?
Yeah, so,
Let's start with the topic. What's the topic for team 1?
we're doing the,
I can't hear you.
we're doing the comparing
You're broken.
the annual percent of Medicare enrollees having at least one ambulatory visit between.
I see. Okay, between black and white. And you are, what's the plan for the analysis? RStudio or Excel?
RStudio.
RStudio, okay. And do you know if the team already have all of the team agreements completed?
Something was posted earlier as far as the team agreements, but
okay.
I think I'm the only one that responded and picked something.
Okay. Any major issue with the team, Marine, if you know?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, any specific question for team?
Not yet.
Okay, good, great, thank you. Team, okay. Team 2, Maria, do you want to update the team situation?
So for our team, we completed most of, well, not our entire agreement. We're still trying to figure out the tasks and how to divide those. It's a little confusing. Do you have any input on how we can, because I know it's by like stages.
Okay, I will do today meeting is for that. I know you are comparing average annual percentage of diabetics.
Yeah.
Having blood lipid between black and white. So the plan is working RStudio or Excel?
RStudio.
RStudio, okay. And then you have connected with all the members of the team. Does anyone have not? I don't like to ask a name, but just in case you haven't communicated, they have communicated with you as a leader.
Yeah, everyone's been communicating.
Okay. Any major issue with the team except the technical point that you mentioned?
No, not
okay.
so far.
Okay, so for your question, for the analyst, I'm going to give you a code. Please send me an email. I forward the code to you. And
okay.
Yeah, you can use the same Medicare National Data by County for this assignment. Okay, team 3, I have, okay, Lisa, Hida. Which of you do you want to talk about the team?
Well, our topic is comparing. Do you already have that, or should I?
I have the topic here.
You have the topic. Okay. Well, it's just a matter of delegating who's going to do what, and that's pretty much where we are right now.
Okay, and the plan is using Excel or Studio because I'm talking to both of you. Any of you can just go ahead.
I am under the impression that it's our studio.
Yeah,
Okay.
they completed the analysis using Excel originally, but we
Okay.
are going to try to do it in our studio. I believe Victoria, I think she just joined. I think it was
Okay.
Victoria that said that she was going to try to work it in our studio.
You know, using the Excel and or RC will not change the mean or standard deviation or even the p-value. Only the differences is if you're using RStudio, you are able to add the figures.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the box plot, but the density plot. So, and also you're gonna have a bonus point. So it's a good idea to, if some of them, at least one member of the team can work with RStudio, stay with that. So you already can, but you can keep the result from the Excel because there's no differences between RStudio and Excel. I accepted a minor variance, for example, 6.7 with 6.9. This is okay, but the p-value will not change. So
Okay,
this is for the analysis.
Professor?
Any other major issue for this?
Not
Professor?
Hi, Victoria.
Hi. I'm sorry, Heather. Let me just ask. So if we're using the our studio, I heard you say something. We have to change what? What do we have to change?
So if you like to stay with RStudio, I say the table, the descriptive table will not change if you
Okay.
have that.
Okay.
You can confirm your numbers with Excel, but I don't expect major changes on that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, sorry, Hida, do you want to continue?
yeah, I don't know if that's what you and Lisa were talking about before I had joined the call, but there was a question about doing the bias table. I just wanted some clarification on that each group member is supposed to do one article evaluating it for the 5 different types of bias versus, you know, we're doing 5 articles and one group member takes one type of bias.
I will explain that today, Peter.
Okay,
This
great.
is the meeting for all of this, yes.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. This is the team agreement. I believe it was.
Take notes.
Let me look at the example. I go through that. Let me open the file. Any question, class, so far? Until I'm looking at the example. No questions?
Just, well, I know you're going to go over it, but if you can just provide extra clarity on the biases on that table.
Sure.
It's a little confusing.
Okay. I will do. Let me see that. Because for the bias, the original plan was using RevMan, but the RevMan is so slow, and I decided to ignore this package for the team project. And I'm going to explain how to use the same approach, the same bias to work with Excel to create a bias table. Okay, James, sorry I missed your appointment. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so it happened, and I was super busy and completely forgot until 5, and I didn't look at my email. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Hello, classmates.
Hello, James.
Hi, James.
Hi, James.
Hi, James.
Oh, James, yeah, everybody loves you. See that? This is the point. Okay. I couldn't find it. Let me go through this, and hopefully I can find it some other place during this. Anyone try to download the instruction from the class about the bias table?
Are you talking about the one that's under the discussion screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have it open.
Okay.
Printed it.
Let me go through this. This is here. Team assignment. Okay. Okay, let me open this one. Okay, everything's here. I was looking at this. Oh, let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen, class? Can you see my screen? One confirmation?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, great. The team project. The team project has two main sections. The first section is qualitative, and the second section is quantitative. And for the quantitative, you already work on individual assignment 1 and individual assignment 2. And I believe you are very good. Most of the class did a great job on this. I don't think so if there's any problem with that, but I'm going to explain that too. For the first section of the class of this team project, the qualitative part, the main point of this is to learn how to do a systematic literature review. I'm not talking about the systematic review, but the approach we are going to use at this individual team project is learn how to do a systematic review. And for the systematic review, the first point is to find the topic. You already have the topic. And the second point is to find a search strategy to search your findings. It's, for example, if you are going to do comparing diabetics between black and white population in the US, so the search strategy should be diabetics. It should be filtered by the Medicaid patient. Let's see what is the topic. Exactly look at the topic in the class for one of the groups. For example, group 1, comparing annual percent of Medicare enrollee having at least one ambulatory visit between black and white. So for this topic, ambulatory visit is the main key word as a one word. You should filter that by the Medicare enrollee, second filter, and then filter by black and white, by racial composition. And then, because this is a literature review, we expected to see the most recent publication. So if you go to any of the data bank and sources of the data, the articles I did in the Scopus, scopus.com, or
What was that again, please?
Scopus. I will post, let me send it to all of you, the address. You can go to Scopus here.
So pro tip, you actually have to access Scopus through the school's library, or
Okay.
else you won't be able to sign up for it. Because I had trouble doing my lit review,
Okay.
trying to go about it that way.
Address. If you have a problem having it to Scopus, a school has two search engine. Which search engine do you have access?
So I actually went through the library's database and journals, and if you go through that way, you can access Scopus. You just have to access it through our library.
Okay. So he didn't knows how to go with that. Do you want to explain it? I never tried that in the because I have all access to all of the data bank. I didn't change my viewpoint to the student. So do you want to share your experience with us for 2 minutes?
Yeah, about how to access it, or what I did once I accessed
how to
it.
access it.
So let me try to find my screen here. Trying to find the library so I can walk you guys through it.
Who is speaking?
Okay, so once you go to the library, it'll pull up the search page and it'll say like databases, research guides, journal finder, etc. You can go, I believe, under databases and search for it. Databases by title. Do you want me to share my screen since I have it up?
Yes, please. Let's give you permission to do that.
Oh, yeah.
because yeah, you go.
Okay. Is that up?
Yes.
Hooray. So this
Okay,
is
the
the,
address is on the top. The first things today, okay, this is the complete address, the library, right? /index.
yes.
Okay.
So that's the library homepage.
Mhm.
And then I went to databases by title.
Okay.
And then you go to S for Scopus, and it's right here. Da-da-da.
Oh, that's it.
Hey.
And it'll automatically, you don't have to sign up for it or anything. It should just pull it up.
Okay. Okay, then you have, so for this assignment, only one data bank, and you should log in first and then go to the library.
Correct. Correct.
So then, there is for a systematic review, you should have at least 2 databases, but for this assignment, you can stay with 1. The Scopus is much easier. You can go with a PubMed as well. It's up to you to choose which one. You go with the first search strategy, filter that, and find up to 5 peer-reviewed articles. This is the point for this assignments. Any articles. Every article should be peer-reviewed article. Otherwise, it's not possible to do a bias table on them, because whenever you are looking, for example, for the government report, maybe that's an important report, but the structure of that is not a structure of a journal article. So the bias table is based on the journal articles. So the first point is just then find your search key. Then go and search, find the most recent articles, and then I believe in some point in the instruction I mentioned any article not older than 2005, correct? Anyone look at that?
Yeah, you said 2005.
2005, okay. But stay with the most recent article. So and this is okay if you search, whenever you find your articles, just send me the topic. Using the APA format, I will confirm that if you have any question about that. Otherwise, as long as team stay with the decision, this is okay with me.
So Heather, you put in those keywords, you put in the keywords of our group's discussion, and did a lot of information come out when you went to that?
I expected to see huge information for the topic all the team selected, because I do expect to see more than 10,000 articles.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't expect it to, but you choose the filter. If you go to the filter and select the most 5 recent, or just sort them based on the citation. The Scopus give you a chance to sort based on the citation, and you can pick up the most cited articles. So if an article is the most cited article, I can say that's an important article. So go to the Scopus and search, filter, and filter by year, and just filter by 2005, and then filter by the country. This is the step in the Scopus. Search key, put in the quotation mark. For example, for the first topic, let me go back to the first topic. Where is it? I have 2 classes. I'm looking at the different. Okay, for the first topic, the search key should be ambulatory visits as a 1 word. Ambulatory space visits. Quotation mark, in quotation mark. You search by title, because the Scopus asks you for search for the title, search for author, search for abstract, or search for any place. Search by title, and when you search by title, you have, and so for example, the Scopus is going to give you 10,000 articles. Then go and search by Medicare enrollee. So the first filter, Medicare enrollee, and 10,000 going to reduce to 2,000. Then go and search by racial composition, racial or ethnical composition. So I'm not talking about just use the term maybe black and white. So try this too, or black or white. Black or white, because whenever you search through the filter, the scope is gonna use and instead of or. But whenever you search black or white, so it's gonna include any of them in the paper. Then it's gonna 2000 reduce to 1000. And when you have that, when you are on that point, and then go and filter by year, in the left-hand side of the scopus, there's a, they sorted everything. So they, for example, the first thing is, not the first things, but there is a year, and there is a geographical place. The year should be after 2005. Geographical point should be the US, and the type of the journal, type of the publication should be article. If you filter by that, I don't expect it to see more than 200 articles, something like that. And then from the 200, sort by the citation, and then you can find the most relative articles, and then you are able to download them. And if you find some article that you are interested, but it's not available on the website of the Scopus, send it to me. I can download maybe in some place and send it to you. But I expect, and it's okay. If you, for example, if you find an article in the top 5 and the full text is not available, so go to the next article so that the full text is available. So I'm giving you some hint how to find your articles. You can use other search engine like Google Scholar. This is okay even. You can use a Google Scholar, but my first choice is a Scopus because it's much easier to go search. This is the first point. Whenever you select the articles, so for each team, because each team has at least 5 members, correct? I see if no one dropped from the team, so I expected to see 5 members for each team. And each team should review 5 articles at least. So, okay, team 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, team 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And team 3, 5, 6. Okay, only team 1. Okay, team 1, 6, team 2, 6, team 3, 6. And then for each team, not more than 5 articles. Whenever you have articles, so these are, so you have the search, you have your articles, and every article assigned to one person. So one person gonna review the article and summarize that to not more than 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, maximum 1 page. 5 article, maximum 5 page summary. 1 page for each article. So this is for the, and whenever you have that, so for each article, you should include this as I instructed in this instruction.
Dr. Zale,
Yes, that's
I'll interrupt you for a second. You want 5 members of each team to do the research, the literature review, and write a summary? You don't want one person doing that task?
Yeah, I think the 1 person is too much work for 1 person. The other person could work on the introduction.
Okay.
Because we have introduction and we have, so the 1 person can work on the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
The introduction should be related to the topic. It should be 1 paragraph about the topic. So usually you should develop the introduction in 3, not more than 3 paragraphs, right? The first paragraph should be about main points about the topic, what other literature said about that. The second should be why you choose this topic, and the third should be say what you want to say about this topic. For example, if I'm gonna go with the ambulatory visits, first thing I'm gonna say, okay, the ambulatory visit is a major problem, access to ambulatory visits, specifically for the Black population, and then I'm gonna say, okay, the literature shows, for example, the Black and white, this is the situation. And in this study, I'm going to look at this, and at this should be the research question. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at to see, okay, how is the association between using ambulatory visits and racial composition? And for the racial composition, I'm gonna stay with the Black and white only. So because we don't know this is a Black man, Hispanic, white man, Hispanic, we are not going to see the other populations race because we don't know anything about that in this data set. But in the real environment, usually we go with a 5 or 6 main groups: Black, non-Hispanic, white, non-Hispanic, Asian, non-Hispanic, American, Indian, American, African, Hispanic. Sometime recently, enhanced data added Asian as a separated group, so it's going to make some sense. So you have introduction, 1 member work on the introduction, 5 other members work on the lit review. Each member 1 section, 1 article. And for each article, you should go with this main point: a short introduction, 2-3 lines. Research hypothesis of that article, the method section, including the data, year of the data, type of the research, strategy, research method they use, main findings, and a discussion. So should be, let me repeat that, a short introduction from the article you have chosen. Research question, research hypothesis, methodology, including the data, year of the data, and the technique they use. For example, for my article, I look at, for example, in life expectancy in OECD countries. I'm going to go say, okay, I use the OECD is a life expectancy is a major problem, is that there's a lot of variance between different countries. For this data set, for this paper, I use 1990 to 2010 data from the OECD countries. When I say OECD countries, I mean these 26 countries. I use, for example, random effect model. I use a regression model. I use a descriptive analysis model to find the association between life expectancy and GDP, something like this. And my finding shows that there is a correlation, there is a direct positive association between life expectancy and GDP. There's a negative association between life expectancy and smoking, something like this. And the discussion should be, okay, whatever I discussed there. So this is an example for this. And it's the summary of this paper you have selected.
I have a question for that.
Yes.
All right, so let me just repeat.
Can you say louder? I can't hear you, please.
Oh, let me increase my volume. Can you hear me now?
I try, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat every, I guess, session you just listed. So I have the intro, hypothesis, research meta, data type, or that, yeah, I guess data type, and then the main findings in the summary, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Also, I listed all of them in instruction. Okay.
So my question is, so we have all of these biases that we're supposed to select.
I didn't go through the bias. It's still, you are still on the summarizing part. I will go through the bias later.
Oh, okay.
This is for the summary section of each article. The bias section is the next part.
Okay, I'll just wait there.
Yeah. Okay, let me share my screen one more time and see this. Okay, this is, make sure this was this section. These are the items I mentioned earlier. So whenever you have a summary, whenever you are reading a paper, so each member has a good understanding of the paper. That's the reason each member should read at least one paper, at least one. I'm gonna say 2, but each member should summarize one article, but each member should read 2 articles at least. Because for the bias table, we need at least 2 members to review the articles and say, okay, this article has this type of the bias. And we are going to review 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bias. And in week 7, maybe you ask a question, okay, we never know more about the bias. In week 7, there's a systematic review section. I believe you have access to all of the class material. Please look at the Cochrane table. I think it's table 8.4. There in the website, you can have access to entire discussion about the type of bias. But for this assignment, you're gonna stay in the 5 different bias, and this is the definition for each bias. For example, the selection bias, that this is the definition, is systematic differences between baseline characteristics of the group that are compared. For example, if you are looking at the articles, and the articles just chose 2 cohort studies, and then for each cohort there is a 10 of, for one cohort there is a 35 observation, for the second cohort there is a 25. You can say, okay, this paper has a clearly has a type of the bias, there is some bias on this for the selection bias. And you're going to look at the performance bias. The performance bias definition is systematic differences between group in the care that is provided or in the exposed to a factor than the intervention. For example, the performance bias back to the treatment happened in every study. And maybe all of these terms are not familiar with you, but whenever you read a study, especially specifically if you read a cohort study, you can more interested about what I'm saying you here. The detection bias defined as a systematic differences between groups in how outcomes are determined. For example, if then a study compared the diabetics between black and white population, and for example, for one group, for black, they compare the H1C 5.6, more than 5.6 as a diabetics, and for the other group use the H1C 5.4, 5.55. So you can say that there is a detection because you expected this equal instrument to measure the performance of the study. And the next bias is attrition bias, and attrition bias is systematic differences between groups in withdrawal from a study. For example, I'm using the cohort study between Montgomery and Baltimore for this is a real study. And I have, for example, 20% of the population dropped from the Montgomery County. I have 50% reduction from the Baltimore. So I don't expect it to see a study reported a different type because both population are staying in the Maryland. I don't expect a huge difference between Baltimore and Montgomery counties. And then, so this, if the study report, okay, more than for some non-equal dropping from the system, this is an example of the attrition bias. And then finally, the reporting bias. More likely, most of the paper has a reporting bias. It's happening specifically in the class assignment. For example, you are talking about diabetes between black and white, and a discussion talk about something completely different. You see, for example, there's this study on the black and white diabetics, and then at the end, we conclude, okay, there is inequality in everything. The focus of this paper is not everything. The focus of this paper is diabetics. So the discussion should be around diabetics. This is type of the bias for, these are the definition of the bias. Then when you have a paper and you are, so the paper should be, you should write the paper here. So for example, the Zara, I have to edit about this one. You should list the paper here. For example, this is my paper I published in 2019. Should report something like this. If you have me and James have a paper, Cesar and James. James, I use the James as a family name here. I know this is not a family name, but I just like to show you an example with 2 names here. 2020. So we're gonna use use the APA approach for this reporting and top. And then for my paper, for example, here they're gonna review that and say, okay, this paper has, and use this sign here. Yes, if the high risk of bias. Input number 1, no is a low risk of bias with number 0. The U is a missing. So because you don't know this is U, or you can use the same yes or no or U as a no, not clear. Here they're gonna review my paper and say, okay, the problem with this paper is a selection bias. It's gonna get 1 point here. The performance bias, there is no detection bias on this because I used this data from the OECD countries. There is no attribution bias. I didn't select a sample. And there's a reporting bias. I talk about the GDP and then I discuss about the out-of-pocket payment. And okay, James gonna review the same article and gonna say, okay, there's a selection bias here. There is no performance bias here. There is no bias for this detection. And there is no bias here, but there is a bias here. I'm looking at this table for different type of bias and see, okay, this is okay. I don't see any point here. I mean, this is one-on-one agreement between Heather and James. There is not agreement between Heather and James on this section, but there is an agreement for any other section. For this, if something like this happened, we need a tiebreaker here. So I'm gonna ask Lisa to just review the paper and just add her score here. Lisa gonna review that and say, this is 1, this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, and this is 0. She's not agree with though the first 2% for the last part. If you look at this, you have the means here, right? You have a tree here. Let's go with the mood here. The mood is whenever everything is has the most frequency, right? This is the definition of the median actually. The 1 is gonna stay with 0, gonna stay with 0, gonna stay with 0, and gonna stay with 1. So this is the bias for this table. So you're gonna have, let me copy this to Excel and show you how to graph this. Any questions so far? Okay, let me show you how to use this Excel to show the bias table. Okay. Let's do something here. James, you are expert in Excel, so I'm trying to do something. Okay. This is different articles. Let's say I have one. It should be here, right? It should be 111. Let me see exactly. I use the same term here. These are.
So with the 2 people, so sir, with let's say me and Heather, since we're in the same group, we're the 2 people that's going to look over the biases. All right, right on the table. So
yes,
if we disagree on one of the biases, then we can bring in Victoria to become the tiebreaker.
Exactly. If there is agreement, you don't need that. That's a reason for each paper you should read. At least 2 members should read the paper. But if there's any problem, you need a tiebreaker. For example, for this, you have a 1, you have 0, you have 0, you have 0, and you have 1. So, but if you like to use Excel as a marker for this, I mean, no, stay with this. I don't like complicated this. Okay, go with the median of this. The median of the 1, whenever you have 3 1, is a 1, right? The median is the most frequent observation is a median for this. The median is staying in the middle of the population, but whenever you have a 3 observation, only the median is the most populated, the most observation. You're gonna, for example, you have 3 1, any mean and median is the same. You have 1 and you have 2 0. This is 0, this is 0, this is 0, and this is 1. And you have, for example, you have the other paper, right? You have 1 here, 0 here, 1 here, 0 here, 1 here. And then you have this one, this one, this one.
You guys are funny.
Let's stay with this. Let's stay. I'm just making some numbers. Okay, this is the bias table. So you want to report this. So whenever you have everyone completed this table, so something like this, I just try to use Excel to just show you how to create. Because whenever you have this part, let's me back to this instruction. Whenever you completed this, you need to use these findings to summarize the articles based on your finding. Actually, this is the quantitative part of the qualitative report. I like to see what's the situation of 5 articles together. To do that, you can compute the summary of this, right? The summary of this shows the most popular bias for each. So based on this score, the most, if you go with this, James knows better than me this table, but this is it. Look at this scale. That's a stable. The highest is a low, the highest is a more bias, right? Stay with this. And let me show you one more time. Click here. And the highest is the most negative one. The red one should be this. The 5 articles we just reviewed, just making some numbers. For the 5 articles, the first problem is a selection bias. The second problem is reporting bias. The third problem is detection bias, and there is equal. There is not big issues with systematic, with the performance bias or attrition bias. This is the closing summary for the systematic review, for the literature review section. So you're gonna have, let me repeat that, you're gonna have 1 introduction, 1 page, 1 page summary for each article, 6 pages. And you have a final page, page 7, including this table, completed table, and 1 closing summary to discuss the finding based on this bias table. And if you like to see, so I never asked to go through each article, so you can save, and if you generate a summary for each article, you can see the most weak article here. The most weak, I don't like to say the bad article, any article has the articles with the most bias. As look at here, this author has the worst problem, has the most problem, and then author number 2, author number 4 and 2, and then first and the second, the third. I never asked to do that because I don't like to just go through each article. So, okay, this is the best article, this is not the best article. So let's go and stay with the summary of this. And this is good. I don't expect you to see more than 1 paragraph for this summary, closing summary of this.
Professor.
Yes.
So is it going to be the summary for each article we're going to work on?
It should be the summary of the bias. For example, you reviewed, all members reviewed the articles, and no, you're gonna say, based on the articles we have reviewed, we found the most problem with all articles is a systematic, is a selection bias. The second most problem is reporting bias, and the third most problematic part is a detection bias. And that report received 5 score from 5. It received 3 score from 5 because the 5 from 5 is a 100, right? You have 5 members and this is the 5. And if you multiply to 100, you're gonna get this, right? This is it. This is the distribution based on the percentage.
80. Gotcha.
100 percentage, all articles has a selection bias. 80 percentage of them had a reporting bias, and 60 percentage detection, and 20 percentage for both equally between performance bias and attribution bias. This is the way you can understand how is the quality of the literature review available for this study. Okay, this is for this table and this picture. Did I answer your question? Are you here with us?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Yeah, you did.
Okay, this is the way you should report the first section. The second section is exactly like what you already have, already finished by the individual assignment 1 and 2. You're gonna go with starting the second part with research question, start method section, describe your finding, describe the variable. So you already know how to do that. This is exactly like the second, like the individual assignment 1 and 2. I reviewed some of the individual assignment 2. I'm gonna go send the feedback hopefully by tomorrow morning too. And for this part, you're gonna go through the data. Most of them, I think all of them is a Medicare national data by county. Is it here? Where is it? This is my different class. All of you are using a Medicare national data by county. You're gonna go with a research question, complete the table, descriptive table, look at the box plots, look at the density plots, discuss your finding, report the test result. Is it any significant differences between your population? All of you are comparing black and white. And then this is the differences between the team project and your individual assignment 1 or 2. In the discussion section, I do expect you to compare your findings with the 5 articles you have reviewed. I don't expect it a very long discussion, not more than 3 paragraphs. 1 paragraph, your findings. The second paragraph is comparing your findings with the other articles. For example, you're gonna say, we find Black more likely or less likely to use ambulatory visits. Article A, B, and C explain this, but Article D explain a different way. So, or if all of them has the same findings as you, I mean the same direction, not exactly the same number. And then you're gonna conclude with some policy recommendation based on your findings and the findings of the literature review. So you can say, our findings is this one, this is the find, this is the policy recommendation also has suggested, but the other authors may be different. And then use the IPA format to cite them. This is the main differences between team project and individual assignment 1 and 2. Because for individual assignment 1 and 2, we didn't have any introduction, and the discussion was just for individual assignment. But because you are 5 members and then 5 or 6 members, I expect all of you doing some kind of the work here. Okay, that's it, I think. And then make sure everybody read the final product. So just in case there's no problem with this instruction. Any questions, class? Okay, I'm going to answer the question if there are any questions for the team project. If not, I'd like to review. I'd like to answer your question regarding the exercise 4.
No, I don't have any questions.
Cielo, I rarely can hear you.
Oh, I said no, I don't have any questions.
Okay, you don't have any questions.
Professor, for
Victoria, louder, please. I'm sorry to insist that, but it's really hard to hear you.
okay, I'm sorry, it might be my computer. So for individual assignment 2, I submitted it, but then I'm not too sure. I probably didn't follow instructions. If you could take a look at it for me and just
For the, I didn't hear your question.
assignment 2, the A2 paper. If you could kindly take a look at it and just let me know, because I'm thinking probably I didn't follow instruction. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I will review that, give you feedback, and you have a, I think in my class, if you receive less than 80, I'm in the U as a usual alternate for specifically Victoria. If any person receive less than 80%, you have a chance to revise your article and resubmit.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Because the object, you know, the main goal of this class is, or objective is just to learn. It's not to just grade, to give some credits and go. So it's just to try. I'm trying so hard to teach you how to learn, to learn about writing something.
Yes, and you've been patient with us, so thank you for that.
Sure, my pleasure. Okay, any other questions here?
For assignment 1, Professor, I resubmitted. I don't know whether you have looked into it.
I will do, sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you. Okay, one of the class members asked a question about the exercise 4, and let me go through the studio and explain that to all of you. Is any other question for the team project?
Well, we might, but I guess once we get started, we will come up with more questions.
Oh, of course, no problem. So, feel free to ask me a question. Okay, the team leader, please communicate with me. All the team members, please submit the team agreements. I expect it to be submitted completely by tomorrow night. It's good time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for the codes for the class, if someone is responsible for running the analysis, he or she can communicate with me, or team leader can communicate with me. It both is good. Any of you can communicate with me, but I do expect the team leader to give me updates about the team project. Maybe just a short paragraph, 2 or 3 lines next Sunday to see how the team is working, or just post it. Send me an email, please. I'm following all the discussion, but fortunately, we don't have a lot of the students in this class. And for my other class, I had 32, I don't know, 26 students, so that's too much. So I'm just communicating with the team leaders only. Okay.
So, Professor, before you go further, so I got an email from you saying that you needed me to contribute something in the classroom for the group, but we have this text group with.
Oh, okay, that's completely fine. Okay. So then you just reply to me. We are communicating with other tools. I don't expect you to see everything on the class. As long as you are connected to each other, that's completely fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to see the, you know, because for the team project, there's a peer evaluation. And if someone don't receive more than 50% of the peer evaluation, unfortunately, I cannot give him or her any credits because for a team project. Because if you have a 6-member and 5-member recognize you didn't work for the team, so I stay with the team decision. So please work as a team. If you have any difficulties to communicate with teams, please directly communicate with me. I will be happy to help. So the plan is just to develop your team skills So for this project, and work as a team to have a better understanding of the concept. And this is the main idea of the team project. Okay, Annalisa, please send me an email for something you like to have more comprehensive parts. I'm gonna go with that for you. And let me open this exercise 4. Let me share my screen. The exercise 4 is slightly different with exercise 1, 2, and 3, because for this exercise we are looking at 3 different regression models. So the exercise 1 and 2 and 3, exercise 1 and 2, we have only 2 groups. Whenever you have 2 groups, so you don't need to run in regression. The result of the regression should be almost the result of the t-test, because we have only 2 groups. But the point is, how do you want to find the association between an outcome and all the elements? For example, I like to see, oh, by the way, I was so surprised. None of the team started working on the COVID paper. I expected to see 3 papers work and publish for the COVID. So I didn't receive anything from any of you. For example, I like to see the association between COVID deaths and geographical location, place to the airport, racial composition, household income, working from home, and number of population for each home. Density of the population in the county, and using public transportation or individual car. So I have 6, 7 elements. I like to see the association between all of them and the COVID deaths. So for sure, I cannot run a t-test because t-test only compare 2 groups. I have too many elements here. The ANOVA is not important. It's good, but it cannot help me to understand this. Then I'm gonna go to see a regression model. For the regression model, I'm gonna see the association between the outcome and all of the control variables. Maria, please go louder, please. Okay, maybe you are not. Okay, this is for the exercise 4. The data set is the same data, and if you run, you just need to run this. I'm gonna run this and explain here the results. This is the first model. The first model compared the association between benefit, the hospital beds, and the ownership. So I have a benefit as outcome measure here. And this is the result. I have intercept is the constant. It does mean any hospital have at least positive benefits. And I have a hospital beds. This is the coefficient. This is the standard error. This is the t value, and this is the p value. So I see here adding 1 bed increase the hospital benefit by 40,000. Yeah, this is $40,959, and this is significant. The ownership type doesn't have any impact on the benefit. There is negative association between all of them, but none of them is significant. Here, if you look at the note here, the 0 stands for non-for-profit, 1 stands for for-profit, is here 11, 12, 13. 1 for-profit, public, and the other. So there is no, in comparison with a non-for-profit, for-profit, public, and other type of hospitals, more likely has a lower benefit, but it's not significant. We should control with the other parts of the model. So the first model says that the bed is important and significant. Let's go for the second model. In the second model, I use the bed category, so I never asked this question from you in the class. I'm not going to do this. For the second model, based on the class, I add the system membership. I like to see if I add one more element, system membership, how it will change the benefit. So whenever I add a hospital, and when I control the model based on the system member affiliation, system membership or affiliation to any system or network, still bed is significant, but there's a reduction, 40,000 to 30,000. And the system membership is positive and significant. Every hospital in a system expected to have $5.2 million benefit. So and this is significant. So based on these findings, being a member of a network has a huge increase on the hospital benefit. For the last model, I like to see how is the population distribution of the population has impact on the hospital benefit. So I'm going to control with Medicare and Medicaid discharge. I'm going to keep everything in the model. Still, hospital bed is positive and significant. Surprisingly, it's increased. Hospital located in the high populated Medicare and Medicare more likely to receive higher patients. So bed is maybe because of some reason we didn't know about this in this model. Bed is still positive and significant. Ownership is still negative, no significant. System membership is no longer significant here. This is interesting. But both of this Medicare and Medicaid patient discharge ratio has a negative impact on the hospital benefits. So this is the complete model. And the point is, how do I know which model is the best fit model? Any question, any response for this question, class? How do you know which of them is the best model? No response? No guess given? James?